What is up, fight fans? I am Jason Burgos for SureDog.com, and tonight I am joined by not only a COVID-19 survivor, but also the fifth-ranked bantamweight in the UFC. After his planned July booking with the UFC legend that is Frankie Edgar was canceled because of his unfortunate positive test, the fight has been rebooked, and he gets to welcome the answer to 135 pounds on August 22nd. And that man I speak of is the young Punisher himself, Pedro Munhoz. Mr. Punisher, sir, thanks for the time to talk this big matchup coming up.
Thank you guys for having me. And yeah, man, it's definitely a big matchup, and very excited. Always like to challenge myself, and this challenge is exactly that one right now.
Days before you were supposed to get back into the octagon, you tested positive, like I mentioned. Run me through that whole situation of how you found out, your first thoughts about it, and did you have to end up calling and texting a bunch of training partners after to let them know, like, hey, I just found out, you might want to go get checked out, it might cost you a fight or something?
Yeah, exactly like that happened. There was something that was really big happening in American Top 10. A bunch of fighters here, coaches here. We were getting tested positive for COVID. Unfortunately, I found out the same day that I was supposed to fly to Abu Dhabi, and I was feeling good actually. Me and another guy that was there, Mike Brown, he was with Jorge Masvidal. And we both test positive for COVID, and we ended up driving back home 40 hours driving from Vegas to Florida.
And that's crazy. Like you mentioned, the stuff going on in ATT, a few people test positive. Sanford MMA had issues. Gilbert Burns lost a title fight because of it. We all know how the surges were bad in Florida, though it's getting better now. But because of what happened, has that forced you to make any adjustments in these last few weeks since it was rebooked? Did you just I'm only going to train with 4 or 5 people from here on out? I'll just mainly work out of home and just do my weight cut from home, my training from home with maybe a few people here and there, just so you don't test positive again, because people can test positive again, and even in a short time. Has there been any adjustments you've made just to make sure you avoid it, or are things kind of the status quo to even before you tested positive?
Yeah, no, it definitely some things happen. Now it's mandatory American Top 10. Every single people that trains in the gym and coaches, they're consistently getting tested to make sure we stay on the same page, and that doesn't and the virus didn't keeping spreading out to the in the gym, stuff like that. So every single people that train, every single guy that trains in the gym and coaches, we are consistently getting tested, and just to make sure it doesn't keep spreading out and stuff like that. And regarding to the fight, to the preparation, I was ready. I was actually feeling really good. So I took a week off, and as soon as I got here, I was getting tested every day, was getting the results. And by the time my results, they're all coming back in negative. So I guess, it was the end of the cycle, let's say. So, and then I still took like a week off, and just doing small workouts and running, not too hard, and just letting the body recover itself. And then I came back training about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So now, feeling really good, ready to go.
We have finally kind of started seeing some chinks in the ageless armor that Frankie has in the last few years. He's lost 3 of his last 4, 2 are first round knockouts. Now, granted, they were to elite level competition at featherweight, to Max Holloway, Korean Zombie, Brian Ortega. But at 38, it seems like his elusiveness has slowed and guys are catching up to him more. And you also can't be super durable forever in this sport. When watching him the last few years, do you feel like he has finally slowed down and he's much easier to get to? And do you think that could be amplified even more, having to go down that extra 10 pounds to bantamweight with even faster guys?
That's a good question, man. Actually, it's really good for us every time we get an interview, getting some questions like that we can really talking about real stuff and things like that. So to be honest with you, I don't think so. He was like I said, he was fighting Max Holloway, he was fighting Brian Ortega, Korean Zombie. This is pretty tough fighters out there. Heavy hands, heavy punchers, big guys. And Frankie Edgar, I guess he just like realized that a natural division for him will be the bantamweight. So I really think that he's gonna be very strong, sharp, very fast, and he's a guy that super smart. He knows how to fight. He's a veteran, and yeah, no, I don't take that lost anything from him. I'm really training. I'm really training, getting ready to fight. You know, a best version of himself, and he's a legend. And I don't take anything from him. I'm training to fight. You know, one of the biggest fighters in that division right now we have.
The last time you were this big a betting underdog, we have to go back over 2 years to your fight with John Dodson. First, as the younger man by 5 years, with 4 less years of pro fighting mileage and 10 less fights on your body. I know you respect Frank. You still feel he's very good, but are you kind of surprised you are still being underestimated as the 5th-ranked fighter in a great division against a guy who still is cutting down for the first time? Like, does that surprise you? You're number 5. This is one thing to be an underdog. It's another thing to be the biggest underdog you've been in a while. Is that surprising to you?
No, that's just the odds, you know.
Yeah.
The end of the day, that's not gonna make, you know, when you and somebody else they're inside the octagon, no numbers, no odds, and underdogs and favorite and things like that won't make any difference, you know. So let's go back a year ago when I fought former champion Cody Garbrandt.
Mm-hmm.
6, 7 years and younger than I, you know. Knowing the biggest knockout power punch in that division, you know, and I was a huge underdog, and you know, and the result of the fight, I knocked him out first round, and if you ask me, and did a lot of interviews with people, months prior to the fight, and was always confident in my skills. I was always telling them that I would beat him on his area. In reality, is, you know, I have been a boxer and kickboxer for a long time, but actually they really think that I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. So even though all my fights, you know, everything that's happening is standing up, I hurt guys is standing. I dropped guys and standing up, and you know, and then they ended up shooting for takedowns, and that's how I get the
No,
submissions.
Frankie has really seen everything in this sport, but do you feel you bring something that maybe he hasn't seen yet, or in your mind is it simply maybe 135-pound speed he hasn't dealt with like you have, or just being young, or maybe better reflexes, better, you know, more durable at this point, you know, that is going to be his main problem, or is it something else? Is it a toughness? Is it a pressure you feel, like you mentioned before, the pressure that he's not? Do you feel you can bring something maybe that he hasn't dealt with in a career where he's seen damn near everything?
I think he hasn't done with everything, you know. I'm just, you know, I think, you know, he has like a lot of fights and title fights and things like that. But I believe that every single fighter, we have our unique style. You know, I believe I have my unique style as well. You know, definitely, you know, see myself a pressure fighter. And yeah, man. So I can, that's the thing that I can see right now. You know, I just focus a lot on my training. I focus a lot on my skills, you know, even though you ask me a lot of stuff about him, things like that. You know, I know him, I see him fighting many times, but I haven't watching his fights in such a long time. Like I said, I'm just focused, the stuff that I do, stuff that I know it works, and doesn't matter who I'm fighting, is, you know, it's always
Now,
gonna work.
speaking of like what you are doing, people may look at the fight you had with Aljamain Sterling and his ability to stand with you, use his reach as something Frankie could follow, especially since they both like to move around a lot, have more, you know, almost identical reach advantages over you, same kind of thing. The reach for Sterling did give you some trouble. Since that fight, have you worked a lot on dealing with length, combating length, and, you know, so the same thing doesn't maybe isn't blueprinted and used by Frankie on fight night?
Yeah, you mean running away from me? That's what you're basically saying,
Well,
right?
yeah, that too.
Yeah, I have been working on that skills, of course, you know. Like I said, I have been learning a lot from my defeats.
Mm.
I always learn every time that I lose a fight, things like that. I come back, in a better version. The fight against Aljamain is definitely. I thought that he would have. The training itself, we did training as a guy who was running a lot from me and no wanted to stay in the pocket, things like that. I did, but in the moment, I don't think it was as smart that
Mm.
I should be
Yeah.
to just try to, you know, not engage a real fight at first. Maybe set up something, cutting different angles, try even to grapple with him, something like that. So it could fight maybe go in a different direction. But yes, answering your question, I have been working, you know, guys that avoid to stay in the pocket, the guys that, avoid to fight and using the length and the distance and the footwork and things like that. Yes, I
Mm.
did that adjustment. Um, I'm always, in the gym, and that one was definitely something that was it played a big role
Hmm.
of me trying to fight a guy that's not gonna fight my fight. It's
Right.
gonna just use the length, use the footwork, and use the distance. So try to break that distance, and set things up
There are
from
some
there.
wild things going on in terms of like title fights in your division and even flyweight. First, what did you think of Petr Yan's performance against Jose Aldo? And also, what are your thoughts of like Dana White still being very non-committal or on guaranteeing Aljamain Sterling a title fight next?
Yeah, let's say first about PD, and I was definitely was impressed by his performance. I knew that it was going to be a good fight.
Mm.
Both fighters very high skills, really good strikers, and yeah, but was impressed to see how tough Petr Yan was, and beating Jose Aldo. It was definitely shows a lot of his capability and how tough he
Mm.
is. Which in a fight against Aljamain Sterling, I think that style doesn't match. So I think
Mm.
Aljamain is gonna just use the length and same thing. He's fast, he has a good cardio. He's gonna try to grapple him. Interest to see it, but like you mentioned right now, um, you say that Dana White is not sure is gonna be the next title. It's gonna be
Yeah.
the next next contender. That's not sure. So you don't know who is gonna be them if it's not gonna be Aljamain.
Do you think that maybe if you get a big, impressive win over Frankie, do you think you could jump ahead and maybe get that shot with Petr Yan?
I do believe so. Like I said, I'm excited. People like to watch, and not saying Aljamain is not. I think he's a great fighter and very technical and really good. Like I said, I do believe, and I do believe 100% that he deserves to be the next contender.
Hmm.
Has been great athletes in the division. My last fight, he beat me in a very smart fight. So I do believe that he deserves the title shot. And with that being said, a good victory, and a good victory and over. I don't like to talk about future, because this is not real. But I
Yeah.
do believe like in a good victory and a performance victory over Frankie Edgar. Former champ, a legend. Depending on how the fight goes, I do believe that my name is back right there in the title in the title picture.